your host for today's My Career podcast. And today we have Ugonna, who is a level 4 software engineering apprentice at Lloyds Banking Group, and Myra, who's an apprenticeship manager at Lloyds Banking Group. They are going to talk to us about what it's like to work at Lloyds Banking Group, what the application is like, how to stand out, and also how amazing the culture, the people, and the working life is. So tune in to find out more. Cool. So, Ugonna, please introduce yourself.
My name is Ugonna Okoro. I'm a software engineering apprentice. I've been with Lloyds for just over a year now, so congratulations to me.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute wonderful journey. I've enjoyed it throughout my experience here working at Lloyds.
Cool. And Myra?
Yep, so I'm Myra. I've been here for 5 years, 3 days ago, I think. I'm an apprenticeship manager, so that means that I look after apprentices and partner with the training providers.
Cool. Happy half a decade.
Thank you. I know, I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
So, Ugonna, please tell us, when you joined Lloyds, what surprised you the most about life in tech? Like, what did you expect, and what has that actually been like being at Lloyds?
To be honest, what surprised me the most was just how much, or should I say, how little we deliver. So naturally, when you think of tech, you always think about the work-life balance. You think about the fact that you don't work with too many people, so it's quite an isolated role. But what actually surprised me was the most was the fact that I used to think that when you're a engineer, you always deliver big products. So whether it's like you're delivering a whole new interface, which includes like a drop-down, couple images, an AI assistant. But turns out you actually do things in bite-sized pieces. And I feel like this is so incredible because as an apprentice, it allows me to take the little projects and actually build upon it rather than taking massive projects, be stressed about it, having to collaborate with too many people. So yeah, I found that quite shocking, but honestly quite refreshing.
Yeah, so the scale of it was much more manageable for
Exactly,
you rather than what
exactly.
you thought. Interesting. And Myra, if you had to explain Lloyds Banking Group to a student in 1 or 2 sentences, so say, they've seen the name, they've seen the adverts, they know who you are, but how would you do that?
I'd probably say it's a bank that's trying harder and harder to be less of a traditional bank.
Okay.
And it's an organization that focuses on its customers, of course, and puts people first, but then equally puts that much importance into its colleagues as well. So I think if a student was thinking about Lloyds Banking Group and not sure what to expect, I think the first thing, or the kind of strapline that I'd say, is it's more than just a bank, because when you're younger, you think a bank is like a cashier and money, and it is that, but I think there's more that goes on behind the scenes that, especially when you're younger, you don't realize happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're a prime example of that, doing tech, that people probably don't think that those opportunities are available within banks. So what advice would you give to young people, and especially women who are looking to break into the tech industry?
Wow, where do I begin with this one? I have to say, for our fellow young people, and especially our females, we are incredible, we're resilient, we are so flexible and adaptable to any environment we come into. But our biggest kicker, the biggest blocker, is usually ourselves, whether that's like imposter syndrome or feeling as though we don't deserve the role that we just come into. But I feel like for young people, they need to realize that we have so much to offer in terms of our experience and our unique mindsets. So I'd say don't look at like the job description, how incredibly taxing it may look. You don't have to fit 100% of it. Even just like 50, 60% can take you the full way. And then look towards mentors. Those are the people who you can turn to. And then go for it.
Yeah, and I guess now you are one of those role models that people can look up to, and that's why we've got you both on the sofa today, to share your story in that space. And Myra, what would you say when you're looking for skills and behaviours in candidates? What stands out to Lloyds?
I think there's obviously several that recruiters typically look for, and you'll see in the job descriptions, you'll kind of see the same ones that come up. Are you curious? Are you independent? Are you willing to learn? And I'd say if you were to kind of bucket them into maybe 2 or 3 things that Lloyds want their apprentices to be like, or look like almost, is we want an apprentice that is willing to accept that they don't know everything, but is okay to admit that and isn't shy about saying, well, I don't understand that or I don't know that, but they're willing to learn and they're willing to adapt and almost ask questions. So that kind of curiosity and the mindset of, I think we call it the growth mindset, the mindset where you know that every day you are growing. And I guess for both of us, a year in, 5 years in, we every single day are still growing. And I don't think there's been a single day where I've come into work and I've not learned anything new.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at applying to Lloyds Banking Group, you want to ask yourself, am I okay with learning every single day? And am I okay if I don't know something and actually joining the bank and maybe knowing, I don't know, 30, 40% of what I should know? Because if you are, then you're the perfect candidate to stay here long term.
Yeah. And I think that's a misconception about apprenticeships in general, is that you have your role and that's it. You know, there's not that, you don't get loads of responsibility, you just are what it says on the job description and that's it. And you're gonna, what other misconceptions would you say there are about apprenticeships in tech? And especially maybe what you thought coming into it versus what it's actually like.
For me, I feel like the biggest misconception has to be that it's not as valuable as a university degree.
Okay.
And it's quite funny coming from somebody who actually literally did do a university degree. I studied biomedical science. I went
Wow.
into my apprenticeship.
Wow.
It doesn't mean I'm that smart, I promise. But I feel like, especially when it comes to speaking to parents, especially parents who also believe that university is just the most important thing, coming into an apprenticeship means that you get to work with people, you get the hands-on skills as well as earning money, and you don't have to worry about all the money you normally would funnel into university. And if you did want to go to university, there are degree apprenticeships, and the best part is your employer pays for it. So honestly, attending an apprenticeship is just perfect all around. You don't have to sacrifice anything, whether it's the university life you prefer, or earning the money, or working, or getting those hands-on skills. And the best part is, as an apprentice, you start at a beginner level, so you're treated as somebody who has no idea what they're doing, which is perfect for those who are just coming out of like high school, who don't have the skill sets for that apprenticeship.
Absolutely. And Myra, what would you say is the biggest myth that you hear about apprenticeships, and how would you bust it?
I would almost build on that. I think
Yeah,
I
for
think there's
sure.
such a big, I want to say there's such a big hype about degree apprenticeships and almost jumping in at that higher level. I think the focus almost needs to shift for young people. I think it shouldn't be, I want a degree apprenticeship, let me look around for degree apprenticeships, because some people just jump from subject to subject just to get that degree apprenticeship. I think there's a bit of a name attached to it. I think actually the way that we should be approaching apprenticeships in general is, what career path do you want to go down? What route do you want to go down? And then what level apprenticeships are available for that career path, rather than, I just want a degree apprenticeship because it looks good and it sounds good. And like you're gonna said, there's this idea, especially with parents, that it needs to be almost a degree standard or something to match university. Well, not really, because I think both of them have their own merits, and an apprenticeship is you're earning whilst you're learning, like the earn while you learn concept. And I think that biggest misconception is people feel like they need to jump there, when I think really you need to look at your career pathway first and look at what levels are around for you to almost start, and then you can make your way up. Because I've seen that a lot around, I think on TikTok, on YouTube videos, it's just this big degree apprenticeships are opened, but do you really want to do that degree apprenticeship because it's hard work?
Yeah.
Maybe you should look at the career path first.
Absolutely. And do you need a degree to do that career? You know, could you do a level 3 or a 4,
Yeah.
see where you're at, and then go from there? Like,
Yeah.
I totally agree with what you're saying. And you're gonna, what made you kind of, why did you choose Lloyds to begin with? How many applications did you do? Did you apply elsewhere? Yeah, it'd be really interesting to hear kind of how you navigated the space.
Yeah. So as I said, I studied biomedical science, but by the time I came to the end of my second year, I was starting to think to myself, this might not be the career I want to go into. So I started job hunting, as one does. And unfortunately, this was obviously during the COVID times, so it was even harder to get a job during that time. So I was joining the people doing the 50 plus, 100 plus applications, and unfortunately not getting anything. And I was currently working at the NHS as a receptionist in a mental health hospital when I just randomly looked on Indeed just to see if there were any apprenticeships because I did know I wanted to do software engineering
Okay.
because I did some boot camps after did some soul searching to see what career I wanted to go into next. And after doing some boot camps, love software engineering, I was like, this is it. This is my career. So looked around for some junior positions, graduate positions, came up empty. So when I looked on Indeed and I came across Lloyds, I had a coworker who banked with Lloyds because we like to discuss investing and saving together. It was like our little chat time.
Yeah.
And they swore that Lloyds was like the best bank for them, that they've never had any issues with them whatsoever. So seeing that post about software engineering apprenticeship for Lloyds, I began to think to myself, what would working at Lloyds be like? This person likes it so much. So I did some research, I looked at the job application, and it was absolutely perfect. Like looking and comparing it to other companies, you could tell straight away that they cared about the people just by looking at the benefit package.
Mhm.
And if you look at the description, it told you step by step what you'd learn as an apprentice. And I was like, yes, tick, tick, tick. This is exactly what I'm looking for. The location was perfect, the pay was perfect. And I'm not ashamed to say about the pay because I feel as though when you're looking at jobs, nowadays you see companies hide the pay or they say it's competitive.
Yeah.
But I feel like by Lloyd's showing the pay, they were proud of what it is that they were presenting to you. So absolutely love the values, love the fact that they cared about the people, love the fact that you can learn so much working at Lloyd's because it just has so many different industries interwoven into. So I applied and the rest is history.
Oh, amazing. And Myra, what advice would you give to someone like Ugonna, who's perhaps, a few years ago looking at their options, looking at applying to apprenticeships? What do you say to young people?
I think it's really important to make sure that that company aligns to who you are and what you value. I think the research element of looking around for an apprenticeship is so important, and you shouldn't just jump from company to company. And I get that completely. There's an element of almost reputation and what sounds good or what looks good on a CV, but I think it's really important to take a step back and actually look at, well, what are they doing to make them more than just a bank? In Lloyd's case, for example, do I actually like the work that they're doing? And like you're gonna said, is there anyone that you could speak to that has either worked in Lloyd's or has banked with Lloyd's that has a bit of an opinion that you could use? Um, I think that mentoring aspect is important as well, trying to speak to someone with a bit more experience than you that can offer the pros and cons. Because when you're applying for stuff, you're seeking out the pros, and sometimes because it looks so good, if the pay is amazing, let's say, you'll ignore kind of what you would normally see as a con because you're thinking, oh my God, the pay is amazing.
Mhm.
But really, that funnel kind of vision when you're applying for apprenticeships, I think that just needs to stop. I think as the generations are going on, we're valuing a lot of us are valuing where we work as bigger than just a place of work.
Definitely.
We meet friends at work. We sometimes socialize with those friends after work, and we spend a lot of time at work. So I think for a younger person who's looking at an apprenticeship, don't just jump at the chance of, oh my God, there's an apprenticeship, it pays amazing, or oh, it's a degree level apprenticeship, I want it. Do some research on what that company is, what they stand for, and see if you can find people online. And there's TikToks now of people actually like showing day in the life of.
Yeah.
I think they are so useful. Have a look at people's TikToks and see, well, what are they actually getting up to in their day role? And does that sound like too fast paced for me, or does that sound quite nice for me? And I think using that kind of double edged way of researching, I think that offers you a bit more of an insight before you just go and hand in your application.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that people bringing the role to life is what a lot of young people need because it's almost like you don't know anyone that's done it unless you have
Exactly.
an older sibling or cousin or someone in
Yeah.
your family. So I think TikTok's been great for that. And obviously, the application numbers are booming and there's a lot more awareness around apprenticeships, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't apply still.
Yeah.
You shouldn't let that stop you from doing so. And you're gonna, what did your kind of parents, family, friends around you say? Because you've just said you went to university to do biomedical science, and
Yes.
now you're at Lloyds doing software engineering apprenticeship. So, how was that received for starters? And how did you? I know you said you kind of researched and made that decision, but yeah, what made you take the jump?
So I, my parents were not aware. So what
Your
happened?
pride.
I just did have a word. No, but to be fair to them, my parents are the definition of Nigerian people in the sense that degrees are everything.
Mm.
So you do your bachelor's, then your master's, and your PhDs upon PhDs. Like that's your flashy cut that you
Yeah.
show off to your extended families.
Yes.
And I love them for it. But they weren't aware of what apprenticeships could do for me. So around the time when my brother was actually looking to see what he was going to do after A levels, I brought up apprenticeships because I knew about it, but I hadn't applied to Lloyds just yet for it. And the discourse between the family was something else. But I sat them down and explained to them the benefits of apprenticeships, about how you get to work whilst you're learning, you get to earn, you get to. There's just so many doors that opens up at apprenticeships, like us doing this right now.
Mm.
And I could tell they weren't 100% convinced, but after I did apply to my apprenticeship, and I suppose after everything I've done so far in the past year, what I've achieved within my team, outside of my team, the connections I've made, then getting to see on LinkedIn just all the different people tagging me about one thing or the other, I can tell they're now very proud of what it is that I've done, and they're a lot more open to apprenticeships as well. So, yeah, I think altogether it's been a good experience.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
A bit of a whirlwind, the
Exactly.
initial reaction wasn't perhaps what they wanted, but we do often hear that from, like you've said, students from Black heritage families, students from ethnic
Exactly.
minority groups, because education is seen as, what you should do. So if you're going to do an
100%.
apprenticeship, is that what your parents want you to do? And I think it's very brave to go against that and to do what you think is best and to explain it to them, because it is probably the better option in the long run. You've got no debt coming out of doing an apprenticeship. So yeah, it definitely makes sense to do. And I think hopefully they go and tell their friends and you can continue to fly the flag for apprenticeships. Okay, Yugona, so what do you enjoy most about working at Lloyds Banking Group?
I love the people. I truly do believe that the people in the company make up the atmosphere and the workplace experience. Whether it's me chatting with other apprentices, other grads, my colleagues, whether it's the older, the younger, I feel as though the people themselves make it so incredible to work there. Because when I come into the office, especially I remember my first couple of days, it was just me, myself, and my team of like 4 to 5 that would sometimes come into the office. And so those experiences were they weren't bad, but they weren't as good as they are now when I can actually come into the office and saying hi to this person, catching lunch with another person, organize an event with another person, and just being able to have that camaraderie within work just it just gives them a little edge, something to look forward to in the day. So also being able to contact people. So say I have an issue with something, I know who to contact, who to go to. And if they don't have a contact, then they also have somebody else who may know. So it's just being able to reach out to people, interact with them that makes the workspace just incredible.
Yeah, I think people are such a huge part of the job, and often apprentices potentially feel nervous about that. You almost go from the top of the crowd at school to then you're the youngest people in the
Right.
room. You don't really know how to network and interact with professionals. So I think that's really great to hear that that's been such a positive experience for you. And Myra, what would you say is your favourite thing, or what do you enjoy the most?
I want to repeat,
Yeah.
but I'm
So
trying to think of
sorry.
something else. No, I actually agree. I think the people genuinely make the bank the bank. The culture is amazing, and I I know that every day if I've got an issue or a problem or a question or something goes wrong, like anything at all, there's like a million people you could message. Like
Yeah.
that's the culture that we've got. Like everybody is so ready to help and to just do whatever it is that you need to help you develop. But I think if I try not to think about the people and think about what else is it that I really love about Lloyd's, I'd say it's the opportunities. This kind of thing right now that we're doing, if you told me 5 years ago when I joined the bank that, oh, by the way, you'd be recording a podcast sitting in London, like I just wouldn't have believed you. I genuinely would have said, how's that work though? Because I think everybody has this preconception of work is like chained to your laptop 9 to 5. It has to be like typing away. And I think the best thing about Lloyd's is yes, you're at your laptop, but you're not chained to it. There's more than just your laptop. Actually, there's opportunities where, for example, in my role now, today I'm here with you in London, and in 2 weeks' time, I'll be at an award ceremony in York, and then I'll be in a networking event with other apprenticeship employers in Manchester, and then I've got a team meeting in Birmingham to see the new office,
Yeah.
and that's just in 1 week. So it's like those kind of opportunities. I don't know, maybe other companies do have them, but I think the fact that Lloyds offer them so early on, even in my kind of first 2 years, it was always, "Oh, Myra, do you wanna do this, or do you wanna travel down to London for this?" And I was just like, "Oh my god, is this work?" But
Yeah.
it actually is work, and I think that's what makes Lloyds so amazing. It's not just what you think work is. They really enrich you and encourage you to do more than just type away at your laptop.
Yeah. And I guess that's also building on the people side of it, because you meet people from different offices,
Yeah.
you understand what they do. There's probably opportunities for you to move around to
Yeah.
different offices as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a really nice way to lead on to our next question, which is around beyond your day job, what opportunities are there? What networks are you part of? What groups are you part of? Let's start with you, and then Mara will come on to you as well.
Oh gosh, my list is too long. But I feel like the ones that I really interact with the most, I'm part of BOLD, which is our Black Organization Leadership and Development Network,
Nice.
which where we just try to come up with events or network with other people outside of the bank to try and look for opportunities for our Black colleagues. So we're proud to say that we've actually gone in touch with a lot of branch colleagues who wanted opportunities in the office and actually given them those networking opportunities to bring them from bench to the office. I'm also part of Aspire, which is our kind of like next generation talent led and network for next generation talent. So that's our grads, apprentices, IPs, our T levels essentially. And I'm one of the three comms leads. So what we like to do is distribute communications about the different type of events that are going on for our next generation talent, so that they can meet other people, they can develop their skills, they can meet senior leaders in settings where they usually don't meet senior leaders. And so, yeah, those are just some of the things I like to do within the bank. And honestly, it's just such an enriching experience being able to do, like you said, not just being chained to the desk doing the day job. And do you think the managers would be on you for not doing your day job all the time?
Mhm.
However, they're so flexible. They understand that this is also part of our career development, and that by doing this, we get to meet new people, learn new skills, and then take those skills and develop our actual day jobs. So, yeah, absolutely love it.
Cool. And Myra, what about yourself?
I think the two that I'd probably touch on is the Lloyds Muslim Network, which, similar to Bold, is a group, like it says in the tin, for Muslims at Lloyds Banking Group to get together and network and almost raise a bit of an awareness around Islam and what it is and how it shows up for us in the workplace. So I'm trying to think about last year. So we're going to run our next year's event because Ramadan's coming up in February. But what we did last year was, and actually we've been doing it every year before that, but last year I was involved in it. It's called the Fast for a Day Challenge. So in Ramadan, you're fasting for 30 days. And I think a lot of colleagues are really shocked when they hear like, "Oh my God, not even water." And you find yourself repeating it quite a lot. So actually this Fast for a Day challenge was a way of the Lloyds Muslim Network getting colleagues involved in Ramadan and saying to them, well, choose a day. Sometimes the team selected a specific day, sometimes it was just whatever day you felt right, but choose a day where you fast as well.
Okay.
So some people decided to do the full thing with no water. Some people did water only fasts. And I think it's little things like that that the Lloyds Muslim Network do that really bring people in. I think it's don't get me wrong, there's so many other organizations, there's so many other groups in Lloyds as well, but I found that the Lloyds Muslim Network was a really good way of spreading awareness as to the fact that actually it's probably worth thinking about planning a certain event in Ramadan because people are fasting.
Yeah.
And because there's so much awareness around it now, because of stuff like Fast for a Day, I think the Lloyds Muslim Network is kind of like it's like a known group, and it's really fun because for Eid, for example, for Eid we often get a henna artist in, and we have like a buffet spread of food just to celebrate the fact that Ramadan's come to an end, for
Yeah.
example. And we invite colleagues to the canteen area, and they can get the henna done. They can actually sit and chat and have really nice kind of food. But on the tin, it kind of just seems something simple, but actually it generates that kind of bigger feeling of community.
Yeah.
And especially for me, I felt often you have to hide yourself at work. Um, the fact that I was fasting, I attended a team meeting in, I think it was Bristol, and I was traveling and I was fasting that day. And I was like, I'm not going to inconvenience anyone. I'm not going to tell them that I'm fasting. But because I've joined the Muslim network and we're doing so much kind of awareness, I feel more confident not to have to hide
Yeah.
that side of myself. So things that I never thought I'd do, but now 5 years on, I'm like, oh my God, can't believe it.
Yeah.
That's
And I think again it's all about that inclusivity, building the culture of
100%.
Lloyds, and it comes back to the people and the opportunities that you get
Yeah.
because of those great people. Now, what do you think students might find surprising about Lloyds Banking Group? We'll start with you.
I feel like we really touched upon it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that you like you said, you're not chained to a desk. We get to do so many things. And I think what they might find surprising is the fact that you are allowed to bring your authentic self to the office.
100%.
So as it's October, it's Black History Month. So yesterday, our board network actually held like Nigerian Independence Day, because yesterday
Nice.
was also Nigerian Independence Day. And I literally came to work in my native wear, and so did other
Love that.
colleagues.
I love that.
And we went up to like the 8th floor. We had a spread of Nigerian food around. We learned about Nigerian culture, the history, Nigerian fashion, everything. And we had all types of colleagues coming in. It wasn't just our Black colleagues. And just being able to have everybody in one space, learning about another culture within the office, being permitted to do so. Just come in whenever you can during your break or whenever you want to step away from the computer. Just being able to do something like that is something that I will happily brag about to anybody, because it's a privilege and it's one that I wholeheartedly accept and wholeheartedly am grateful for. Being able to share my authentic self and bring my authentic self to work every single day.
Yeah, I love that. And Myra, what about you?
What surprise? What is something people would be surprised about?
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that you don't have to hide yourself. I really like that. You just don't have to hide yourself. Like sometimes you feel there's like a mold of who you need to be corporate, to be like, like there's this idea all over TikTok, all over YouTube of that corporate aesthetic and having to like sip your coffees and be in suits and I think it's just shoved down so many youngsters' throats when actually the biggest surprise for me was nobody wears a suit. Like,
Yeah.
literally, nobody wears a suit. And I'm allowed to say, like, I don't like coffee. Like, I really don't like coffee. And, being able to bring yourself fully to work and say, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. Obviously, within the remit of respect. But I was just so surprised that people can bring themselves and you just in one team you will have people that are so vastly different.
Yeah.
They've kind of got the same strengths and they've got the same passions in mind, but they're complete opposites as people.
Yeah.
And they work really well together. And I just found that so fascinating because I think when I was younger and I was studying, I would have never thought I'd work in a bank. Honestly, I would have never ever imagined me in a bank because I thought the bank was stuffy. It was, this idea that people have of what a bank is, corporate. I think it's got some negative connotations to it.
Definitely.
But working in Lloyds, I think both of us can agree, is so refreshing. Like the type of stuff you work on, the people you speak to. The biggest surprise was it's nothing like what I thought a bank would be in the best way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like, the perception of, like, this whole corporate life and what people think it's like and scary, like you're in silence at your desk, you can't move for, 8, 9 hours a day.
Yeah.
It's just not like that at all. And I think you've both really shed light on that today and just about everything you've said about authenticity and your roles and, how you both feel working at the bank has really kind of come through in what we've spoken about so far. Now, what we're going to end on is giving us a snapshot of a day in the life. So, Mara, you've mentioned the videos on TikTok, but what would you say is a classic day in the life for you? What does your role actually look like day to day? And Myra, I think because you've been there for 5 years, it'll be really interesting to hear about Myra 5 years ago
yeah.
and what role that was and
Yeah.
kind of how you've progressed into the role you're in today. So we'll start with you.
Okay. I think let's talk about Myra 5 years ago, and then let's
Sure.
talk about Myra like now. 5 years ago, I joined on the grad scheme. So I joined on a graduate scheme that no longer exists. It's now repurposed to be the HR grad scheme, I think it is. When I joined 5 years ago, I joined on a grad scheme, meaning that it was rotational and I had 3 placements. So I was in
Okay.
3 different places. I worked on a variety of things. I was actually looking after a team of 12 people. Like, imagine leaving university and managing 12 people during COVID remotely. So I was a team manager for a bit, of case handlers working on internet banking cases. I looked after kind of the output that comes out of our colleague survey, looking at the questions that were asked and what kind of our MPS is. Are we highly rated? Are we not? What kind of things can we improve?
Mhm.
And then I finished my grad scheme on strategic workforce planning, which is a bit more abstract, but looking at how do we make sure that we hire the right people for like 5 years time.
Yeah.
So that was 5 years ago, and every day was really different because it was COVID. So actually I didn't step foot into an office probably for about a year.
Wow.
I did my whole first year of corporate life just at home looking at a screen, and then by that time I stepped in to an office to meet a completely new team. So my first team I'd never met before. And
Wow.
even now to this day, when I'm in Leeds, when I'm in Birmingham, I'll meet people from my first team 5 years ago that I've still not met. So that was 5 years ago. Everything obviously was online. Didn't really go to the office much. Now, really different. I'm an apprenticeship manager. I think I've touched on the fact that I act as a bit of a conduit between an apprentice and their training provider. If they've got issues, if they feel like they're not getting their off the job hours, if they need a bit more support, I keep on track of the progress that they're making. But in terms of a typical day, it varies. Like today, I'm kind of recording with you, but in the morning, just before I came in, I was responding to emails, planning the week of travel that I mentioned, booking tickets for the award ceremony. So I think the day in the life varies in my role because it can be made up of these kind of activities, going to events and awards, responding to some emails and having calls with training providers or with an apprentice, sometimes speaking to like apprentices or recruitment managers about joining Lloyds Careers Lives. So there's a bit of calls and emails, which is what is expected of a corporate role,
Mhm.
but there's some travel and actually being able to go to different offices and meet apprentices. And I led on the welcome events about 2 weeks back.
Oh, you did
And
that.
I met not the activation event,
Oh,
but
okay.
the kind of separate. The activation was massive. We had separate kind of apprenticeship development days. They were called Activate, and we kind of got the apprentices in their hubs together. So I think there were about 7 in Birmingham. There was about 30 in Halifax, and I actually got to speak to them face to face. So that day, no emails, no calls.
Mhm.
I'm actually traveling in to a different office hub, meeting people who are like fresh out of college actually,
Yeah.
have no clue what they're doing, but that's a part of the job too. So long-winded answer, but very different to 5 years ago. Now there's a really nice balance of travel, events, meeting people, and emails and calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So you get a bit
yeah.
of a mix of
Of everything, which is perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
And you've got to, what about yourself? So, like, what's a classic day in the life for you?
Oh, well, I think what Mara touched upon, which I really have to agree with, is the fact that no day is the same. Every day is going to be different for me. So usually I start off my day at 7:30. Actually, when I'm coming to, I know,
Early.
there's a reason why. I find that when I come into the office at 7:30, it gives me like 2 full hours just to de-stress, to think about what it is I need to do for the day, to organize some things, get things prepared before I actually like get started. Because it's nice and quiet in the office, right? So then once 9:30 strikes, I'm doing my daily syncs with my team. So I was talking about what we did the day before, if there are any issues with the product we're currently working on, who we need to speak to maybe like debug the issue, that kind of thing. And then afterwards, I then have like my apprenticeship lectures, which is when
Okay.
we get to spend about 2 hours with other software engineers around the entirety of the UK in Lloyds Banking Group. And this is where we actually get to learn the skills needed to do our jobs. So those are incredible sessions with our training providers.
Okay.
And then afterwards, there's pretty much depending on what I want to do that day. So whether it's like debugging the codes or adding more features to the product, or shadowing my colleagues, whether it's the software engineers, the DevOps, the QEs, anybody who feels as though they have enough time for me to just like slot in a quick calendar session with them. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm doing some networking stuff. So whether it's like doing some friendship stuff, some Aspire stuff, some board stuff. So my day pretty much varies in that sense. And because of it, I sometimes leave early, sometimes leave late, depending on whether I have like extra sessions after normal work time, supposed to say. But yeah, like I said, my day varies as well. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of come throughout what we've spoken about today is that, no day's ever the same. You have loads of opportunities you can get involved in. Your manager's not going to shout at you if you go to an event or,
Yeah.
you go to an awards night or something like that. And I think that's a really great message to give to young people, especially those that are perhaps considering apprenticeships but are scared of corporate life. Because I think it's a big jump, it's a big change from school, but it isn't all laptop, 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 emails. There's lots of fun aspects to it as well. So thank you both so much for your time. It was great to hear your stories, great to hear a bit more about Lloyds.
Thank you.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.